And we're live. So, where to begin? uh, where to begin? Where the fuck to begin? It's funny because things work out the way they're supposed to work out. A little bit. I don't know that I'd exactly call it providence, but maybe it is. I was looking at doing a show next week, next Wednesday, for here in the States. It's Thanksgiving week. And I was going to do a Wednesday show and no show for Thursday. Obviously, it's Thanksgiving. But then I thought, well, you know what? The hell with it. We're going to close it out this week and take all of next week off. And I think that's the proper way to do things because it's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving and people have shit to do, and I have shit to do. But what I was going to do was something shitty. This Way Comes movie, and I was like, well, I need a fucking movie to do something shitty, and I haven't thought about, because there's lots of schlock and shit that I could just pick, but I'm like, that's just an easy target, and you don't want to do shit like that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, let me think of something and I'll see what I can do. And then I was like, well, the hell with it. I'm not doing any shows. We're not doing any shows next week. We're just going to take the whole week off. I said, but I realized suddenly that today we're doing Children of the Corn, and I'm like, I've never seen this movie before, and we had talked about other movies when we were doing Silver Bullet, and then last week when we were doing Starship Troopers, and I was like, something, things may have actually fallen into place, and how the fuck did I know that was going to pan out the way that it did? So we have a lovely Something Shitty This Way Comes episode happening right now. I am the American Werewolf. I've got Eric from Hey Internet Eric here, and I've got Radical Rod out there on the left coast.
Hey, what's up?
Saying what's up. And if you guys are ready to go, I think we should just start throwing the monkey shit now. Like we're right there at the fucking zoo, and that monkey just picks up that shit, just heaves it right at somebody. So, shall we go?
I'm ready, but are you ready?
Boogie woogie. We're gonna find out real quick. So, here's the thing. Real quick, this is episode 73 of the podcast, and we have finally made it to Apple Podcasts. So we're live streaming on YouTube, we're live streaming on Facebook, we're live streaming on LinkedIn, and we're now audio only on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and now Apple Podcasts. So that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Very cool.
It's been a good 10 months, and I've enjoyed this year, and I'm looking forward to next year a great deal.
You're doing good, man. Keep it up.
Yeah, man. As long as we're loving what we're doing, I don't see what the problem is, and so the rest of it just, is just icing on the cake. Now, speaking of things that are not icing, and are not anyway classifiable as cake, I was recollecting a statement I heard once about relativity, and it went something like this. It said that if you're courting a nice girl, then an hour can pass like a second. But if you're sitting on a red hot cinder, then a second can seem like an hour. And that was from Einstein. And he said that that's relativity. He said that that's the way that he could explain relativity. And this movie was a fucking exercise in relativity if I've ever experienced one. Jesus, Mary and Joseph. I don't want to take the Lord's
It was the
name
longest
in vain.
short movie I've ever watched.
Oh my God. It's a shame because, this is actually based on King's short story, which is about 30 pages only, on Night Shift. And you can see this well-worn and well-loved copy of Night Shift that is probably a first edition hardcover that's just been beaten to shit over like 40 years or whatever it is, and it's full of fantastic stories, and that is just one among many, but it's a very, very solid story, and for some reason it just didn't translate into the film, into the movie. They made a completely different thing that was just schlocky. Now, here's my question. And since I was just telling Eric before we went on that something shitties are never very long because I don't want to necessarily dedicate a great deal of time to a bad movie. But I do have a question, and I'll set it up this way, and we'll do a round robin because I don't know what the answer is. And maybe you guys do. King starts out in 1976 with De Palma in Carrie, which we covered, the three of us. He moves to 1978 in Tobe Hooper, 1979 in Salem's Lot. Okay, he goes to Kubrick for like the magnum opus. So he's peaking early. Within 4 years, he's with Kubrick. He's doing The Shining. He goes to Cronenberg in 1983 with The Dead Zone that I covered with John. How do we end up here? That's the question. How do we go from De Palma, Hooper, Kubrick, Cronenberg to this?
Somebody must have saw something. Somebody must have read something, and maybe this had a lot of potential, but
it's a fantastic story. It's a horrific and fantastic story. It's far more graphic. It's a horrible horror, nightmarish story. But they just decided to do this, and I just don't get it.
It seems like there was much money behind it.
How do we end up here? Does anybody want to gamble?
Here's my take. Well, first off, let's just say I being a part of this podcast, I met a lot of cool people, Rod included. It seems like every time I get together with Rod, it's always Stephen King related. It seems like we're kind of slowly going downhill. No offense, my friend. With Carrie, then Silver Bullet, and then now this. But I'll say this: I'm a huge Stephen King nut. Mike knows if it's Stephen King, at least throw it at me, and I want to try to make the show. And I'm slowly reading all of his books in order. And Night Shift, I think, is one of his best so far that I've gotten to, because I think King's strength is more so in the shorter stuff than the longer. And what I think is we're concerning this one, maybe one of two things. A, this movie was based on a short story, so they had to stretch it out more to make it 90 minutes. And B, if you think about it, you look who you went with: De Palma, Hooper, Kubrick, Cronenberg. And then when we finally get to here, you're a problem, because when the movie opens with New World Pictures, which is basically any movie made for $1.50, that's what it was. So I think personally, we had these already, we had novels, you know what I mean? So we had all the material we could work with, and we had the big name directors, or bigger names, at least at the time. I couldn't even tell you who directed this one. We didn't have any recognizable people. I mean, Linda Hamilton, she wasn't a big name. Terminator was that year.
This was just before she blew up as Sarah Connor, just before. So
I think a lot of it had to do with smaller material to work with, hell of a lot smaller budget, which not necessarily, because Carrie wasn't very big budgeted.
No,
but it was just
no special effects. Same with The Dead Zone.
I think and The Dead Zone. So I think it's a little bit of that small material to work with, and super small budget, and
I totally agree with you. The budget, you can tell the budget and
Ooh.
the story.
oh,
short.
definitely at the end. We'll get to that.
Especially-
The end. Oh, we'll get to the end.
Yeah.
That electronic blob that came out.
Oh,
Looked like a fart cloud with a frowny face or something like that.
Or something like it. I don't know.
strung with Christmas lights or something, you know? Yeah. Hold on.
I haven't read the story, and I think I don't know how the story's written, but I would have loved to have a build up to how this town became this way, how Isaac got
Mhm.
there, and the so-called devil or whatever
Yeah.
got to. If that was established, I think everything else would have fall into place.
Mhm.
As in the interest of this story. You just come in and you see these people, these kids automatically killing the adults here, and then everyone's in town, and you just, why is this shit happening right now? If there was a story built into that, it might have been a little more enjoyable.
And the exposition begins the worst possible way with narration.
A child's narration.
You know,
Child's
yeah,
narration,
they're not showing you; they're telling you. And
Mhm.
you know, I'm just like, oh my god, I'm like, you know, it feels like a fifth grader wrote this. You know, they're not going to tell me. You know, they're not going to show me. They're going to tell me. You know,
Mhm.
we talked about this in Hereditary, how it's just, you know, the exact polar opposite. You know, it's as good as it possibly can get the way that they roll out the exposition there. The original, the screenwriter is a guy named George Goldsmith. And hold on a second, we got some comments here. Chargirl. King wrote the original script. Welcome to the show. King wrote the original script, but the writers rejected it. That's right. And I think she got a kick out of the fart cloud joke.
I don't know how else to describe it, man.
Yeah, it's like
It
a
is
fart,
a
crab,
big fart
fart cloud wrapped in Christmas lights or something. You know,
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Now, she's right. King did originally write a screenplay for this, but it was rejected in favor of Goldsmiths, who gave us what we got. So, but his argument was that King had written a screenplay that essentially the first 35 pages were. Now, supposedly King's argument was that his story was going to be a lot more about Bert and Vicky.
Okay.
Less about the kids, and it was going to be, as Rod was hoping for, about the origins of the uprising.
Okay.
You know, and how we got there in the first place. Goldsmith's argument against King's screenplay was that it really wasn't that. The first 35 pages were nothing but Linda Hamilton, were nothing but Bert and Vicky arguing in the car. So I don't know exactly what the truth is one way or the other. You know, you're not exactly sure. I just know that what we got to start out with wasn't great. The uprising, you know, is just like you said, a child's narration. You know, these people that, you know, they murder all the adults in the town. They poison the coffee, and then the farm tools come out and they just start hacking everybody up. You know, the schlocky thing with the you know, they put the guy's hand through the meat slicer.
Mhm.
You know, these ridiculous sorts of things, and then, you know, next thing you know, next thing you know, Linda Hamilton is there, and it's always great to see Linda Hamilton.
Always,
It's hard to
Beautiful
criticize
lady.
Linda Hamilton, and she's just so damn cute. She's
Mhm.
pretty as a picture here. And this other knucklehead, Peter Horton. I guess they're like husband and wife, and they're Bert and Vicky.
Mhm.
But the thing of it is, it's not a strong story. It's a bad
Yes.
story. It's a very bad story. Linda Hamilton, and it's very strange in 2021 to see this movie for the first time and to see Linda Hamilton like dancing. You know,
Yeah,
and
it was.
you're-
Went. I'll say this: like the beginning, I've seen this movie a handful of times. Now,
right.
You admit
this was
that?
probably the first time. This was probably the first time I wanted to be air quotes professional for the show. I watched it uninebriated, and that's probably why we're where we are right now.
Yeah.
But I knew about I remember the beginning with the kids killing all the adults. So I'm like, you know what? It's starting out schlocky. I love good schlock. You know that, Mike. But let's just see where it goes. It could go somewhere from here. And it's just like the movie for me just stopped right there.
Yeah.
Because we go from this interesting, like, Isaac looking creepy through the window, Malachi and all the kids doing what they're doing. And then it goes to this hokey, awkward dance number, where Linda Hamilton's trying to, be cute for her husband. And then it just really goes off the rails. And what Rod was saying is I noticed, I was looking up because we're all in a group text, and we're talking about how many movies there were. And I said there's like 11, 11 counting remakes and stuff.
That boggles my brain. I don't even know where to start.
So there's seven or eight originals. Then they remade it for the Sci-Fi Channel, which I guess was closer to the book or the novella.
Yeah.
Which I heard was decent. But what Rod mentioned, I guess there was one that was supposed to come out last year, and they might still bring it out this year. It was because of COVID, which takes place before this, which shows us how it all started. But I'll tell you what, after watching this one and knowing that there's like 8 other films, I really don't have any interest.
I have no stomach now. Now, in the original story, it's that I think they roll through the town and Vicky gets kidnapped and Bert ends up killing one of the kids. He stabs it, like one of the kids stabs him in the arm. And so he ends up picking something up and like stabbing the kid through the throat. While he's having this fight, by the time the fight ends, he kills the kid, like just out of the blue, like a bunch of kids just attack them with like sickles that just come out of nowhere. And by the time he turns around to get his bearings again, they've grabbed his wife out of the car, Vicky. And so by the time he finds Vicky in the cornfields, she's been crucified with barbed wire. Her eyes have been ripped out. They've been stuffed. The orbital sockets have been stuffed with corn stalks.
I would have enjoyed that a lot more. I would have enjoyed it.
That would have been scary.
Yeah,
that would have been scary as hell. And then while he's dealing with, figuring out what just happened to his wife, he who walks among the stalks, kills him, rushes, and it's like you never actually see, and it's never described, but it's like this. It is a deity, some sort of demigod or something that like lives in the corn. And because the children, it ends with the children, he who walks among the corn has been displeased by the children because they didn't kill Bert.
Right.
He had to do it. So he lowers the age of sacrifice from 19 to 18. And the Malachi character, the redhead, ends up going, I think it ends with him going into the corn to sacrifice himself along with all the other older children.
For punishment.
Yeah, and one of the girls is pregnant and about to have Malachi's child. And she's just weeping her eyes out because, he's leaving before she's prepared.
That's a good ending.
Yeah, before they're prepared. And she secretly dreams of burning the cornfield down. But she's afraid to do it because he who walks among the corn can, she believes, see all their thoughts. It's a god, so it can read their thoughts. And that's how the story ends. Bert and Vicky get killed. The age gets lowered. All the 19-year-olds have to go in now, or 18 or whatever, have to go in now because the age has been lowered. And, you have one girl who's secretly dreaming about. So it ends on a very negative and downer note. But that's a great story.
Hell yes.
Today, back then, I could see why they didn't write it that way. They didn't produce it that way because it was before it's ahead of its time. If you think about it, it was ahead of its time, and that wouldn't have worked then, but it works now that we think about it, we talk about it, and how films has transcended nowadays. But I can see you have to have that good ending. You can't have a little kid narrating this and say, "Oh yeah, these adults go ahead and walk in the corn and then they die," whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but I don't know, man. I mean, we got away with The Shining.
True.
Yeah.
We got away with The Shining. Carrie was, a woman, drenched in blood. We talked about, she's having her menstrual cycle right there in the opening scene of the movie.
You think this would aim more towards the younger horror fans during the time, since it was a child narrating, They wanted to, because they didn't show any of the. They show the hand going into the when
The meat slicer.
the meat slicer, but they don't actually show it. They just show the blood. A lot of times they show him about to get stabbed, but they show the blood. So it could. I know back then they didn't have that PG-13 rating, but it would have been a PG-13 more towards a younger, trying to bring them into enjoying Stephen King movie, because all those other ones, a younger audience, that's a terrifying type thing if you're a young kid.
I just think that I think this was, as we've talked about, and I could be wrong, and it's just my opinion, and we're just talking. But I think this was during King's erratic phase. I think this was towards the start of his sort of erratic phase, where it was going to be the 80s were that phase really, where he was doing that sort of on again, off again, and then we move on later on where he goes to Carpenter and Christine. I think that was 85 or something like that.
I think that's kind of what it is, because first off, I think why we didn't get a lot of on-screen killing it was obviously budget. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think Rod has a good point, because if you think about it, when we see the air quotes, I'm just going to say killings on screen, it did seem more like an 80s slasher movie to me. And, this was, 84? So it's like right in there. We've had, Halloween, Friday the 13th. I don't know if Elm Street had just come out, but that's the same year.
Same year.
Yeah. We had all this schlocky crap. So I think it was also trying to get, the teenagers in the theaters to see this stuff, because you know what? They're the bread and butter for this type of movie, especially in the 80s when you had a new slasher movie coming out every freaking week.
Maniac and all this bullshit. Hold on, we got some comments here. Chara Girl says, I wish they would have done more adult killing in the movie. Yeah, that would have been okay.
Yeah.
More of the first scene, but extended.
Yes.
Yeah, because it doesn't explain who any of these people are, or how they've suddenly, all these kids have fallen under the influence, and
I want to see how Isaac came to power. What he basically says, he chose me. Okay, why did he choose you? You're creepy, but Malachi seems a hell of a lot more creepier and more dangerous than Isaac. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hold on, we've got. Oh, hey man, what's up?
Hey Patrick.
What's happening, brother? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. Sinister RP. Cheers to everybody. What's up? Thank you for stopping in. Children of the Corn Runaway is pretty much a movie sequel to the original short, as it follows Ruth, Malachi's girlfriend, which you were just talking about. Okay. Hey there, Have. Oh, all right. The short story was brutal. It's like Psycho. What do you? I'm not sure what you mean by that. What do you? I think it might have been the budget. Unfortunately, when Dimension Films took over the franchise, they butchered it with countless terrible sequels just to retain the rights, much like they did to Hellraiser. New movie will be theatrical.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
I don't like Children of the Corn sequels, and that's completely understandable.
Yeah.
But new movie is now set to come out next year and has a budget of $10 million.
Holy shit!
I now I'm sort of curious to see the sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
If it's close, if it's like Faith, because that's just a great story. Like I don't understand why someone would change King's story. Like King movies are erratic. King's writing is not.
Right.
It's like you have the perfect story right there, but like for various reasons, like what Rod said, maybe that just wasn't what they were aiming for.
Who really knows?
Killers are like Psycho shower scene. Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
I suppose so. So, I mean, the kids have taken over this town, and then suddenly Linda Hamilton is dancing. In this
awkward.
Cheap hotel room, and you're like, yeah, this is not good. This is not good. She's singing, and I remember writing into this. I remember writing in my notes. I'm like 12 minutes into this, and I'm already angry.
I remember the text.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck is this, man? You know, what are we doing here? And I should say before we go any further, this is currently available on Amazon. It's available on Tubi. It's available on Shudder, which I was saying before we went on is quite ironic because I'm advising people not to fucking watch it.
And Hulu.
Yeah, you'll want your 90 minutes back. A remake, if done right, could be fun, but that ending has to change. Again, King wrote the perfect ending.
Yep.
He wrote the perfect ending. And I think as we have, like Rod says, as things have evolved, I would hope that someone would have the forethought to just go with the original story.
Mm-hmm.
It has potential. It has the potential, I think, to be a good movie.
Yeah.
If they do it right.
The problem with filmmakers is they take Stephen King's written, which is pure gold, and they go, oh, yeah, let's change this here and change that. I understand adaptation, but where is the respect? King's writing is plenty erratic, especially his early work. It's erratic, but it's not bad. That would largely be my argument. I mean, I think almost anything that he's written, I like his ability to create imagery. Is just fantastic, and there's an endless supply of it. He's just got this endless library. I mean, I love when he constantly puts out the short stories.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like I said, I'm reading
anthologies.
I'm reading them all in order, and right now I'm on different seasons. And so far, from Carrie to different seasons, there's only been one book I haven't really cared about, and that was Firestarter. But everything else has been pretty bang on great. And I said Night Shift is fantastic. I think there's over 20 stories in there, and there's only maybe one I didn't care for.
Yeah.
So I think he's more, I guess you say he's stronger with his writing when it's more compact.
Yeah, and looking at it here, you've got Graveyard Shift, you got Jerusalem's Lot, The Mangler. I love The Mangler.
Mm-hmm.
Mangler's just a great story.
Lawnmower Man's in there.
Yeah, you've got Trucks, which was the inspiration for Maximum Overdrive.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they come back. The Lawnmower
That's a good one. Yep.
Quitters Inc. Quitters Inc. is just a fantastic story.
That's in Cat's Eye.
Yeah, Children of the Corn.
The Ledge.
Yeah, The Ledge. Yeah. Rod, you're gonna have to give me your address. I'm gonna have to mail you a paperback of this or something like that.
Definitely, I would love to.
Really good, dude.
I'll send
really
you one
good.
from Amazon. And just while we're on a quick aside, we did that Silver Bullet. I ended up finding a copy of Cycle of the Werewolf. So they've got these new editions now. They're not, I couldn't find a first edition, or I wanted something new, and I supported my local bookstore rather than going through Amazon and buying a previously viewed. But I mean, as much King as you can get your hands on. I'll text you. Give me your address. I'll send you a copy of Night Shift, because it's just fun shit to read.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on a second. We got this King's writing. Okay, wait, hold on. They changed the story because they wanted more palatable for mainstream movie audiences, especially with the good guy wins trope. Yeah, and we've discovered again, like Rod is saying, as things have evolved, that sometimes the better stories are when the bad guy wins.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The better movies are, sometimes the best movies that we can think of are when the bad guys wins. Battleground is epic. Yeah, that's a great one. The Mangler, I love The Mangler. The Mangler is just a fantastic movie. Ledge, top drawer. If this new movie is actually done, it may well just entice that fear of driving past cornfields again.
Yeah.
Would be cool to have a redemption movie for the franchise to wash out the crummy sequels. I wouldn't bet my grandmother on it. Because it's a fine idea. I want to. I'm like Fox Mulder, man. I want to believe.
Yeah.
But how long have we had this track record of the Suits just pumping out, shit, and just it never ends, because if they end it, I mean, I don't know. Are the this movie was a commercial success. I guess what I was saying is, I can't believe that they continue to make these movies if they aren't making some profit. So somebody's watching this shit.
They're making money off it.
The home video market for this was phenomenal, because everything was straight to video after 2. So like I said, that's like what, 6 more movies. But I think the main
cult classic.
I think the main problem with this one itself is, they talked about, how the good guy wins. Is it was so awful the way they won.
Yeah.
It was because first off, you have Isaac. I mean, I thought, okay, maybe it's getting good. Malachi's finally taken his power. Isaac's being sacrificed to the corn god or whatever you want to fucking call him. But then again, I know it's a budget of $2.50. You had that really bad
We could have passed
orange
the hat
effect.
like back in the day, Rod.
You have that bad orange effect come from the ground and cover up Isaac, and he literally just gets shot in the air. And then he comes back, and I'm like, okay, he comes back. He's going to kill Malachi. This could be good. And it's just a weak neck snap. You know what I mean? So it's just so much build up. It's so much potential.
And then
it's just like
though?
nothing.
Yeah.
What was that gopher? That giant gopher is in town.
See, that's what I thought.
I don't know what the hell that was.
See, you said gopher. I think that's supposed to be he who walks behind the rose. I was thinking Bugs Bunny. I was thinking Bugs Bunny. When he's taking the wrong turn at Albuquerque,
Yeah.
and that's where we ended up watching this fucking movie. So I was thinking that, and then you had the bad, the cloud effect, and it's defeated, and it literally has like this bad like crying effect in the cloud. So that's already bad enough as it is.
What I hold a resentment against this movie from 1978 or 79. I don't know if you remember it. It's called The Car. And
Yes, I've seen that.
It's with James Brolin, and it was one of the Exorcist hangover movies towards the end of it. In the late 70s, because that's all they did for like 7 years after The Exorcist was try to make some sort of demonic thing, and apparently the devil was in the car, or the devil was the car, or something like that. And they finally tricked the car into going off a cliff, which I wish they would have done 2 minutes into the movie. It would have spared me another 88 fucking minutes. But,
Yeah, you wish you were in the car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Chucky in the corner.
Just run me over.
Yeah.
I hate that little bastard. I don't understand why somebody just doesn't step on his little plastic ass, motherfucker. So
Another this shit is coming up.
where's my shoe?
Yep.
But when the car goes over the cliff and it explodes, and it's something like this. And James Brolin is in it, who I hate James Brolin. I hate his acting. I don't hate him as a person. That doesn't make any sense. But
Right.
It's like this big explosion, and they're all horrified, pretending to see, apparently, this thing that's in the explosion. I've been watching that 30-second scene on and off since like it came out in the theaters. I still can't see anything in the damn explosion. There's nothing in there. And it's the same thing here. There's no there. It's a bad story. Nobody's in charge here. Like, there's no lead here.
Nobody.
It's not Horton. It's not Linda Hamilton.
It's that little boy. The little boy who's he's not terrified. Tugger, whatever his name is, he sees his dad gets killed, and he's there running around the street. He's like, oh yeah, okay.
But it's not him either. I mean, I feel like
It's poor direction.
It's just a rudderless ship. That's what I feel. I feel like it's just a rudderless ship. Like nobody's running anything here, and like, yeah, it's just directionless. Hold on, we got some more comments here. Darabont saved the Mist. I love the Mist.
That's a great one.
I need to watch that again soon. I'm very lucky. I got a dual version of that where it's actually in Chrome. You can watch it like in black and white. To watch The Mist in black and white is actually something to see.
I won't say anything for anyone listening that hasn't seen The Mist, but we're talking about downer endings.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, which is different than the way the short story ended. It's loyal right up until the very end. It doesn't make sense how they killed a whole ass town but failed to kill 2 damn people.
Exactly.
No argument there.
I love the scene when he comes and saves Linda Hamilton, and then he gives his big speech, and everyone's just standing there after they try to kill him, and just standing there listening to him concerning what he has to say. And they spend this whole time following Isaac, and why not just jump in and attack him and kill him?
I wanted him to just walk up and slap someone right in the face.
Well, he did have a couple bitch slaps towards Malachi.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. He didn't even close his
Yeah.
fist.
I know.
He just paintbrushed him a couple of times.
Exactly.
You know, you pain in the ass, you little, shit.
Yeah.
This did have elements of Lord of the Flies.
I can see that. Yes, big time.
It had some elements of the Wicker Man, but it's
Mhm.
just it's inferior.
Hmm.
It's inferior products. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're laughing, but it's a painful laugh.
And then another problem was after we had the whole, the fart cloud and the disappointing things with Isaac and all that stuff. Then we have what we think is going to be, a nice ending. They're walking, the couple's walking away. Apparently, they're going to adopt these two kids. Who fucking knows, right?
Oh,
They
they're
get
so
in the
happy
car.
after being massacred.
I know
so happy
they're
with them.
already super fucking happy, right? So they get in the car, and then we have the jump scare. We have one kid left,
Yeah.
gonna stab her. What happens? They literally get out of the car, they slam the car door on her, knock her out, and then they just walk away to town. And then the movie ends just like that.
The end.
Exactly. Like you said, Mike, you're talking about everywhere you can watch this movie. I watched it on Tubi, and I felt ripped off. And Tubi's free.
I watched it on Shudder because I want my $6.99. I don't get much out of. I'll be honest. I don't get much out of Shudder, and it's probably one of those things where I'm not taking advantage of it.
Right.
But because I watch these movies now for the show, like sometimes I just want to watch different things. That kind of thing. So I try to not spend so much time because now I'm watching for a purpose.
Yeah.
It's not. It's recreational, but it's not. If that makes any sense.
Right. No, that makes sense because one major point I want to say is when I'm on other people's shows, I have a rule because I'm watching the film to have a discussion with you guys or any other show I'm on. My rule is phone is down, 100% on the movie. The major flaw, take away the bad acting, the budget, no direction. The major problem with this movie is it's really fucking boring.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that's the number one thing for a movie to be bad for me. I can handle bad acting, schlock, no budget, if I'm at least entertained. Mike, I broke my rule for this movie. I didn't pay attention 100% because I was on my phone because there was nothing engaging.
Yeah.
Because you know what? It could have been so creepy with Horton and Hamilton, observing the town and this and that if they found some of the stuff in the book or in the story, all the names sacrificing this and that. But no, Linda Hamilton's watching the two kids play Monopoly for 20 minutes and just all this other bullshit. They didn't go anywhere with the one girl who obviously had the shining, you know what I mean, because she had the gift of sight. It went nowhere.
Yeah.
All this padding to make it 90 minutes, and it was basically 75 minutes of boring padding, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I remember when we covered Psycho, and we had this guy Steve Langford on, and he was talking about how when it came to Hitchcock, which of course is like the destination in terms of writing and direction, there's no fat. Like everything is there for a purpose. There's nothing in his stories that like goes nowhere. Everything leads to something, and all this was like the exact opposite of that. Like everything just it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Hold on a second. So the car was of course it's James Brolin. It wasn't much better with Amityville. That was bad. And I'm not talking about the story, the novel of the DeFeo murders. That movie was awful. There is a face in the explosion. I haven't seen it. Okay. Lost Potential. They made a car sequel in 2019. I'll avoid that like the plague. Watch Ouija. That's Mike Flanagan. I want to watch that. That's a Mike that came up in my roster on my Fire Stick queue. That's the next movie in my queue. It came up automatically. Okay. The Shining was useless in regards to the storytelling of the movie. Kubrick made that movie around Nicholson.
I think she's talking about The Shining that the girl had in Children of the Corn.
Yeah.
See, it's just there. Just hey, wow, let's connect some of these things because that is one thing in King's universe. Multiple characters do have the shine.
Yeah.
because the daughter in Pet Cemetery has it without calling it The Shining type of thing, and so on. But it's thrown in this movie just, I guess, for a connection, and it just
started
goes
out-
nowhere.
Didn't The Shining didn't that start out in the beginning when she was they said that she wasn't allowed to draw anymore? In the very
I
beginning,
think so.
There was a picture in the very beginning she drew, and so it had sometimes significance in the beginning, and I wanted to see it go through, but they just cut it out and just forgot about the whole thing.
Yeah, because Isaac even mentions it, because she says, "Oh, she has the gift of sight. She predicted the Outlanders coming in and all that," and it just goes nowhere.
Nowhere. Hold on. The Patrick says the story was too short for a feature film, but everyone wanted a King property release. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
That sounds just about right. And it's a shame because, like I said, they had a perfect story, but they chose not to use it. And now, I mean, we're looking at 16. This movie's 37 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And it has the most sequels out of any of his King movies.
Yeah, and I could not be less interested. But something. I mean, who knows? Maybe they might get. I mean, look what just happened with Dune. And if anybody's seen the new Dune on HBO, my God, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful. I just saw it this weekend. It was like a Sunday morning or something like that, and I was just laying on the couch having coffee, and I'm like, let me get around to watching this. And it's 2.5 hours, and it's just a thing of beauty.
No Sting?
No Sting. No Sting. I will kill him. That character is played by Dave Bautista.
Ooh, big
who
difference.
Is just an intimidating, scary, kind of sociopath.
He's good at playing them.
Yeah. And it's just so. I mean, how long ago was that? David Lynch's version?
Lynch's version was 83, maybe. Right, it was very early 80s.
So again, 37 years later, 38 years later, we get what we probably should have gotten. So much so that I ended up ordering the first book unabridged, which is like 900 pages. I can't wait to dig into it. I've got some time. I got some time coming off, so I like really look forward to just sitting down and just doing some reading and getting lost in some of these books. But yeah, I mean, this is a bad movie. This is a very, very bad movie, and if you haven't watched it, don't. It seems like everybody here has, so I can only say, please don't watch it again. Don't do that to yourself. Life's too short. Sinister says, head off to get some sleep, working early. Yeah, cheers. Have a killer. Thanks, man. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
If anybody here dares attempt a sequel, the last one entitled Runaways, pretty much the only semi-decent one if you look at it only as a direct sequel to the short story, not the movie. I was obsessed with it when I was 10.
That. A lot of people were obsessed with that movie when they were a kid.
I had a crush on Malachi. Oh, God.
It's the red hair. It's what it was.
Okay.
I'll say this, man. I remember during my high school days and home video, I've probably seen, back then, all the sequels. And they are, I didn't even like them then, but as a Stephen King fan, I felt loyalty. I'm going to watch them. And none of them were good. Like, they're going to Chicago by the third one. Isaac Returns by the, for some reason. It is called Urban Harvest. So they're going into the black community. And so it's these Amish looking white kids in the black community in Chicago dealing with that. By part 6, Isaac Returns for some fucking reason. It's insane, dude. It's insane.
Amish kids in the hood.
It's fucking nuts.
Patrick says Courtney Gaines.
Yep, Courtney Gaines was Malachi. Yep.
Oh God.
Oh, and he was in one that Courtney Gaines. We can go full circle. He was in my first appearance on this show. He was one of the members of the asylum that were abusing the girl that Michael Myers and Rob Zombie's first Halloween. Yeah, he was.
Was he really?
One of the,
that director's cut, because that other scene is cut out of the theatrical release. Mm-hmm. It's a completely different escape scene.
Yep.
Completely different. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, I feel like we've done our duty here.
I got one.
Literally duty.
I got
shitty.
duty.
Yeah.
I got one question. Rod, why did you suggest this?
Because it was a classic. A lot of people they still talk about this movie.
Mhm.
You know, I hear Children in the Corn all the time.
Tell
Okay.
him
I'm
to
not-
slap him
told-
next time. Paintbrush him like Peter Hoyton, and then fucking we just paintbrush him. You
I told
stupid
Mike
bastard!
I'm not a
Shut
horror
the hell up.
fan. I
Yeah.
don't watch many horror movies and stuff, so I'm taking this from a
Mhm.
basic
Entry level.
entry level, point of view. But this was always a movie that stuck in my mind from when I was a kid.
Okay.
Children in the Corn. People talked about it. I never saw
Yeah,
it. People
yeah.
talked about it. Talked about
See,
it.
that's what it was. You never
I
saw it.
never
I didn't
saw
know
it,
if this was, if you were a horror fan. I didn't know if this was a troll on Mike or what. But you know what? You never seen it. You are completely innocent, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
I regret it.
Rod and Ryan have probably watched more horror this year than they probably have their whole lives. Ryan's
Yeah,
not a horror
that's a
fan
fact.
either.
Okay.
But you know, he can talk movies.
Mhm.
So, you know, that's another reason why I've tried to stick towards movies that, you know, give you something to talk about. Now, this gives us something to talk about just for different reasons. So, now, all right, what I do at the end of every something shitty is that, you know, other than just, you know, taking a huge bowel movement on the movie that I pick, we try to offer something that we feel is a worthy substitute, you know, because, you know, we shouldn't be watching this, but maybe you could watch that.
Mhm.
So rather than, and usually I'll pick something from the same year. And that's, but there wasn't really anything from this year that jumped out at me. It was a big year for schlock. It really was. 84 was a big year for schlock. But I went backwards a couple of years. I went backward 1 year. And I said, well, if you're a King fan and you haven't seen it, and you'd be surprised how many people haven't, check out The Dead Zone.
Yes, please.
Check out The Dead Zone with Cronenberg. It is a beautiful, beautiful movie that is just fantastic because it focuses so little on paranormal events. You're just completely invested in the story, and it's Christopher Walken, and probably maybe his best role, if certainly one of his best, and probably one of his least known.
Mhm.
It's directed by David Cronenberg. You've got Martin Sheen. You've got Olivia de Havilland in it.
Tom Skerritt.
Tom Skerritt is in it. There's a number of people that are in this movie. You've got Herbert Lom as the doctor. And it's a fantastic story. And if you're really loyal with King, that's probably the movie you should follow, because everybody knows Carrie. Everybody knows The Shining. We are coming out swinging in January with the first episode of Cold and Scary as Fuck. We're coming out with the first episode of the year is going to be The Shining. So I'd like to get a big panel for that.
Mhm.
And
I'm down.
Yeah, Cold and Scary as Fuck is going to be just, you know, we're coming right out of the year, you know, swinging, you know, like in a fucking Rocky movie.
Mhm.
And I think that's a perfect movie. I think it's going to be January 5th.
Okay.
That's our first episode for 2020. Cold and Scary as Fuck, The Shining. Obviously, you can go with De Palma, you know, and Carrie. We three have discussed that movie in detail. That's another great King offering. I'm saying if you're thinking about King, and of course today I should have mentioned this. Today is the 42nd anniversary of Salem's Lot. Salem's Lot was released 42 years ago today on
Wow.
network television and scared the living shit out of people. Scared the living hell. It was a 2-night television movie. And David Soul was like straight out of Starsky and Hutch. You're like, he's doing a Stephen King movie. He was fantastic. All right, hold on. We got a couple of comments here, and then I think we're going to close it out. I just watched Halloween to see Courtney. Okay.
Yeah.
I did an interview with Courtney on my channel. Okay, Patrick, very cool. I just watched Hell Night with Linda Blair. Linda Blair never really did anything after Exorcist, unfortunately. And I don't mean any disrespect to Linda Blair, but certainly it's like Frampton Comes Alive. Like nothing can beat that. And so everything he puts, you know, like you get something perfect the first time and then you're like, fuck, everything else just kind of falls off after that, you know? The Dead Zone is good.
Yep.
Dead Zone is great. It's one of my favorite King adaptations. The Pink Panther with Herbert Lom. Yeah. Cujo.
I prefer the book.
Yeah. Oh, Cujo scared me. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. I think that's good enough for one night. My thanks to Eric from Hey Internet Eric here. And Radical Rod, who I'm going to pay back in spades by making him watch a really annoying fucking movie.
Yeah.
So no, actually, because Rod was like, we don't have to watch something. No, fucking, let's just see what happens.
I did give you an out. I did.
You
give
did.
you
He
an
did.
out.
I was witness to it.
Hey man, no, we've been talking about this movie for 15 minutes. So you gave me my something shitty, and now I can take next week off with a clear conscience. I've killed two birds with one stone. I filled this episode, and I've killed my something shitty episode that I wanted to do. And I
Two
won't do
birds with
another
one pile of shit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Two birds with one turd.
With a face on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that
It looks
frowny,
just like this. Yeah.
that frowny face in that cloud was Mike by the time he got to this part.
Yeah, a big fucking turd. Nuclear turd. Thanks, man. We appreciate you stopping by. I feel weird. Like I know you're. I would love to get into a Dark Song again. I know I covered it with Night that one time, but I feel like it's a movie. Like I don't know about redoing episodes or movies that we've watched, but I don't think nearly enough people have seen that movie, and it deserves to be seen by like everybody. Have either of you seen it?
I still haven't had it. I don't have access to it yet, but it's on my list.
That's a serious fucking movie, man. Holy shit. I haven't watched that in a long time. I haven't watched it since I covered it with Night, so it's been like 6-8 months or something like that. That's a damn good movie. All right, so we'll be back tomorrow night for the final episode of November because next week is Thanksgiving week and we're taking the week off. And we're going to be covering a movie that I screened with Ryan this week called M from 1931, and it's the first ever serial killer movie, and it is a fucked up movie with Peter Lorre, the great Peter Lorre. Wow. And it's a foreign film, an old Janus Films. The same year as Browning and Dracula, like I think you brought up, Eric. Mm-hmm. And it's the story of this man who is a serial killer. He murders children. It's an extremely dark movie, especially for 1931. It's a German film. And he has brought this city to a standstill in Germany post-World War I. He's murdered 9 children over the course of a year. And the police cannot catch him to save their lives. And so what ends up happening is organized crime in the town decides to band together for 2 reasons and catch this guy. The criminals decide to band together and catch this guy. 1, because all of this has happened over the course of the year. There are so many police in the streets, organized crime can't function at all. 2, even among criminals, murdering children. This guy murders little girls. Murdering little girls crosses a line. Mm-hmm. So they've decided for a multitude of reasons this cannot be allowed to continue. And they develop a strategy to catch this guy. And Peter Lorre is the killer. And it is just this dark, fucked up, Ryan's taking me down the serial killer fucking rabbit hole with these ultra dark, we did The Night of the Hunter the other week with Robert Mitchum. And you're just like, this is just fucked up shit, but they're great movies. Mm-hmm. So that's what we've got for tomorrow. That will be it for November. And then we'll be back on December 1st with our first ever top 10 fantasy movie list. So that one's going to be a lot of fun when we get to it. But hold on, we got a couple more comments, then we're going to close out. Redo a Dark Song. Maybe we will. We'll have to look at it for January or Feb. Peter Lorre is awesome. Yes, he is. All right. My thanks to everybody tonight. Rod, Internet, Eric there, stopping in. Everybody here in the stream. Thanks so much. We'll be back tomorrow. And all the best, everybody. Have a great night. Thanks for stopping
One last thing. Like I said, always great to do King. Always great to be with you and Rod. Let's just make our next King with the 3 of us a little better.
I don't think
Yeah.
it'll be too hard. I don't think it'll be too hard.
Yeah,
You're
'cause
right.
It can't get any worse than this.
Oh, it
All right.
can. I guarantee it.
Not on this show. All right. Good night, everybody.
Cheers.